still don't get a good night's sleep, and my baby was about to be 5. So
Absolutely. I could tell already. Like right now, I could tell just from these few days. It's just been like crazy. It's like I ain't been this last night. I ain't go to sleep. I just woke up. That's why I was like, all right, I could do the call because I just woke up and she was asleep. So I'm like, okay, I'm good. I can do it for a little second, and then that's why this call gonna be pretty quick. So
how's your girlfriend doing?
she's doing well. She's on bed rest right now. So like literally, I've been doing like everything by myself. Um, but overall, she been good though.
You can do it.
You got this, Michael. You got it.
100%. All right. Let me see if the YouTube. Can y'all hear me? I could tell already. Oh yeah, there they go. All right. So welcome everybody on the YouTube channel. I see people in the comment section say congratulations. Thank you in advance for everybody else that's gonna put it there, and thank you to the people that already put it in the comment section. I appreciate all of you. And then for everybody that DM me on Instagram and everybody that wrote inside the Telegram chat, I appreciate you all as well. I didn't get to respond back to everybody because I literally had hundreds of messages. But I appreciate everybody for the warm messages for sure. So let's go over these charts and what to expect this week. We have a lot of interesting things going forward to talk about. So, Zoom, y'all should be able to see my screen now. And then, so just make sure I got y'all mics muted though, because I can hear myself. All right, so welcome everybody. Let me move this some things over real quick. Boom. All right, so like I mentioned inside the Telegram chat, for everybody that's inside the Telegram chat, we're gonna be going over gold. We're gonna be going over indices, and then what to expect with these Trump markets. So of course, Trump did bomb the nuclear plants in Iran. I think it was the nuclear plants in Iran. So of course that just kind of generated this little push that we had inside of the market. But overall, I was already bullish on gold. Like I was already looking at it and seeing like, all right, price, I could see price potentially pushing up from this area. So the fundamentals kind of just went hand in hand with the technicals, right? Now, going forward, there will be things to look at this week. So a lot of like, even though we don't have like set news events for this, there will be things where we should pay attention to, like anything that Trump says in regards to the Iran, anything with Iran or anything like that this week. Just be mindful of that when y'all in y'all positions. But overall, on Monday we have PMI at 8:30, well 8:45. Fed Chair Powell testifies at Tuesday at 9 a.m. and then we have another testify on Wednesday. So like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday all got red folder. Actually, all every day this week has red folder news. So y'all just be careful inside of the market. But even though it's red folder news, it's still like money to be made, and that's why I wanted to do this call, because whenever it's volatile like this and it's a lot of things going on and like prices moving really aggressively, like those are the times where you can make a lot of money if you know what you're doing. So I wanted to go over those few things, right? So let's talk about where we were at last week. So last week we were here. This was our bias. Remember, we were looking at this area. We had divergence and we were sitting at this green trend line. And I was mentioning that we could bounce off of this trend line. Bare minimum, I was looking for price to pull back into this zone right here. And then we had this note. So the note was the sell scenario. If we begin to reject at this area, we could sell it down to the negative 27 on the minor structure fib, which is 32.82, which was in this little area. Well, really 32.62 is what I meant by this. But this little green zone right here, or if we broke above this blue zone right here, Then we could look for buys up to 3,400. So you can see prices. The 3,400 was this area right here. We broke above, retested, and we pushed right up to 3,400 like we talked about on that call. So that's why it's super important to be pretty much have two scenarios inside of the market, because you want to be prepared for that, right? So here we got the sell off like originally, like we came to this zone, then we sold off, but we failed to make a new low. So we came to that zone, we dropped 300 pips, failed to make a new low, and then we pushed up to the zone again, failed to make a new low. Now, where this was interesting was if like my students, my blueprint students, my one-on-one students, y'all should have been able to take advantage of this. This was just forming lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows. This broke structure here. So then impulse corrected and then gave us our overall continuation to this uptrend. So that was a pretty simple uptrend to take advantage of for that week. And that was 2 weeks ago, right? And then last week, which was crazy because this was like my baby, she came earlier than expected. So my baby was really originally due in July. And I'm going to talk about a little bit of that like at the end of the call. But she was due in July. So I didn't even have plans to like not like trade or like just take the week off or like anything like that. Like I still plan on doing everything up until July when she was due. And then like once a woman gets to like her like full term, that's when you start going to your doctor's appointments like every week. So we originally was going every 2 weeks, and then we started going every week, right? So we went to our doctor's appointment, and then the doctor basically told us like, all right, it's time to deliver the baby today. Well, like I wasn't even like anticipating it. I literally had just got back in town. Like I had went out of town on Friday. No, I went out of town on Saturday for my friend's birthday back at home, and then my girlfriend was telling me like, you don't need to be going out of town. What if I had a baby? I'm like, you're not gonna have a baby yet. Like the baby ain't due till July. Then I literally came home on Sunday for Father's Day, came back, and then that Monday the doctor was like, all right, we gotta deliver the baby today. And I was just like, oh shoot, like I didn't even expect that. So the baby came early. But I say all of that to say this whole week, last week and gold from Monday was all like pretty much like a mess. So this whole Monday through Friday here was kind of like a consolidation mess. And I seen a lot of people kind of get like caught up trying to buy this too early. But blueprint students, y'all know like this is one of y'all assignments inside of the course, and especially my one-on-one students, y'all know that this is a assignment that y'all do based off of descending channels. But it wasn't like if you got in this buy too early, like let's just say you got in here, this end up stopping you out. Then let's just say you got in like here, then the price ended up stopping you out. Like it was multiple times where the average person would have just got in and got stopped out trying to buy this too early, right? So it's important that, especially my one-on-one students, y'all know like y'all wait on the actual break of structure before y'all take that buy, and that would have prevented a lot of losses in between here. So when I was in the hospital, and I just like looked at my phone to like see what gold was doing, and I seen all this consolidation. I'm like, damn, what a week to take off, like not even really look at the markets, and all it did was consolidate. So now this week I'm expecting a lot of movement, and we're gonna go over that, right? So let me adjust this trend line. So I'm gonna remove this because we don't really need none of this stuff anymore. So let's clear some of this stuff off. But this trend line can get readjusted. So at the time when I drew it, price was like right here. So we didn't have all of the price that we have now. So now that price is where it's at, we're gonna readjust it because it's just, we don't want price cutting through these candles right here, right? So I'm gonna readjust this as such. Boom. So now we got 0.1, 0.2, and now 0.3, right? And then we go drag this zone over just a little bit as such, right? Now from here we can see that we have this structure as such, and I'm gonna adjust these. So we got high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. So from here we see we hit this negative 27 take profit level based off of this fib structure right here. Now we have another fib structure that we can potentially draw from this low to this high point here as such, right? We can see price retrace to the 61.8. But before I do that real quick, let me just go to the higher time frames and take a look at current price. So last week we ended with this bearish candle, but we didn't engulf. So that lets us know still buyers momentum inside of the market. On the daily, we can see that we kind of got like this consolidation range. Let me annotate real quick. So we got this consolidation range. I think we talked about this 2 weeks ago when we was on the call, but we at the top of this consolidation range. Well, last week we hit the top of this consolidation range, and then now currently we sitting in this little area right here. But if we break out this consolidation range, we definitely go into the upside on gold. And then let me put these back on real quick. So on the daily, we can see that we had a lot of wick exhaustion here, which lets us know that this is forming some level of support. You can see we had a level of resistance here, level of support, and we maintain that level of support. So as long as that level of support is being maintained, we can see overall the trend is still bullish. So we can expect price to continue to go to the overall upside, right? Now let's take a look on H4. On H4, we can see this little uptrend structure that we have here. And then we have this last week on Friday, we ended with this like bullish variation pattern. So that bullish variation pattern lets us know that there are more buyers inside of the market currently right now. So that's something that we want to pay attention to. And then if y'all just pay attention to everything that I preach on every single call, all of my trading cam videos, so forth and so on, impulse, correction, continuation. So we can see we have impulse, then we had the correction, and then we got this continuation here. Then we got another correction. This broke and retested that correction, and then we looking for another continuation. But this is an impulse. This whole thing is another correction. We could be looking for another continuation, right? So just off of that concept alone, that lets us know that price should be continue to go to the upside based off of those patterns. Now, in addition to those patterns, like we talked about, Trump had bombed Iran, right? So with Trump bombing Iran, gold is a safe haven. So anytime there's like uncertainty inside of the market, what do people do? They put their money inside of gold. So that's why the market even opened up with a gap to the upside. People like, oh, well, we don't know what Trump is going to do. We don't know what to expect from Trump. So we're going to put our money into gold and take it out of stock market, so forth and so on, right? So with that being said, just logically or fundamentally, you can expect gold to go up. But y'all know me, I don't really go too deep into the fundamentals. I always talk about just like the technical aspect. But since the technical aspect is lining up with the fundamentals, it just kind of goes, hand in hand, right? So now that I put these annotations back on, you can see that we got this point A, point B for this fib, 61.8 TP. Now, on our smaller time frames, we can see that this was a trend line, and this also was a descending channel, like I was mentioning, as such. And then I'm going to put this line here. I really don't like this wick exhaustion. Let me look at this extra 3356. So this little area is an interesting area that I want to pay attention to. My students, y'all know what this is, but I'm gonna put them on both candles. So my students, y'all can put these alerts on y'all on y'all's as well. But the reason why I'm putting it on both is because they two different brokers, and they got two different 4-hour candles, but I don't know which one is gonna pull back to, so I'll put alerts on both of them, right? But overall, like I was mentioning before, this is giving divergence. So in the smaller time frames, we can see we're going down, and on the RSI, we going up. So that lets us know that the market potentially wants to turn around. And then if we just look at 30-minute structure alone, we can see that we have lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. And this is what I was mentioning before on how, like, if you would have took buys off of this, you wouldn't, like, there was no indication that the market was going to buy because you never broke none of these lower high points. Every time price formed a lower high point, you never, like, broke any of these. So the fact that you didn't break these and retest them, that lets you know that this descending channel wasn't ready for a buy yet. So like any people that was buying in this area was getting smacked and smacked and smacked because price was still technically in a downtrend, forming lower lows and lower high points. So there was no reason to technically look for that buy just yet until you got that transition in that structure. So now, based off of where we at, we can see that we broke this structure here as such. So we just had an impulse break of this structure here, and this is more like a H1 like breaker structure. Now on our 15-minute structure, we had this little break here, and then this little fib played out. So this point A to point B, price hit this 61.8 after retracing to 78.6. So currently where we at, even if we would have dragged this to this high, this was a 23.6, this hit negative 27, that fib played out, and then now we can readjust it to here. So currently we sitting at a 23.6. What I want to see is first this gap be filled. So we almost filled it. It's pretty much almost filled now, but this little gap here, I wanted to see it get filled. That's the first thing I want to look for. Now the second thing that I want to look for is for price to overall retest any of these areas that we were looking at, right? So like I mentioned before, this was our breaker structure line. So possibly price coming into this area here, retesting and then pushing up. But since it is, gold is kind of, you know, like bullish right now due to what's going on, I don't know if we will get that retest of that area. Or the second area that I look for retest is that variation line that I put on H4, which is in this little area right here. So that's something that I'm paying attention to, which also kind of goes hand in hand with this trend line break, and then we'll look for like a retest and then buy that up, right? So the ghost pattern I'm going to give y'all will look like such. Let me find me a good example, and if y'all got any questions about what I'm talking about, just put them in the comment section and I'll try my best to answer them really fast. And then we 20 minutes in, so I'm gonna try to make this call like 30 minutes, so I ain't gonna have too many questions, but I just want to make sure that y'all understand what it is that I'm looking for. So I'm trying to find me a pullback that I like. So something like this is what I'll be looking for. Price break above, retest, push up, and hit our negative 27 TP, which is also this next stopping point right here, which is this like 30-minute looking zone. Let me change the color to that. So this little 30-minute looking zone, that's where I'm looking for our next targets based off of minor structure. Now major structure, I don't know if we'll get there this week, but then again, like I said, it is probably going to be some volatility this week. So overall, this can come back up. Like our targets can come and hit this 3,500 like ish area. This is the high point of our major structure. Now our major structure looks as such. So even if I just adjust this fib, and then so y'all can see what I'm looking at, our fib is stemmed from this low here. Let me annotate. So impulse, correction, look for that continuation. So based off of that fib, our first target, you already know, is the 0, which is that 3,500 area. Our second main target will be 3,650. Well, 3,650. That will be the next area based off of that major structure fit. So that's something that I will be looking for. But like I said, I don't know if that's going to get there this week, simply because that is like a daily like / 4 hour fib. It's probably going to take a little while. But for our main structure, our main targets for this week, 3,500-ish area, I definitely think we can get there based off of what's going on. Even though that is around 1,200 pips, still the main target. Now, I'm not saying we're going to get there this week, but overall, that's the target that I'm looking for, which lines up directly with that negative 27 on minor structure, right? So main target for this week, 3,500 area. So boom, and then let me make this a little bit bigger. All right, so of course we're gonna take this step by step. We're not just gonna assume that it's gonna get there. And then, like I preach to y'all all the time, we need to see these. We need to see and let me remove these fibs. We need to see the price action to back our bias, right? So like if this for some odd reason just go completely opposite and do something different, then that's just something that we be prepared for. So what I mean by that is, if this just decides to melt, then we will look for sales underneath here, this next level of support, retest, and then we can sell it down to these lows right here. So I'll put a note, sales if we break. I'm gonna just put BNR, that stands for break and retest. So boom. That will be the bias that I'm looking for. So if we don't get this, and my students, y'all know y'all not entering anything until y'all get your entry signals at these areas of interest. But if we continue just to fall through, then we look for that retest underneath there to sell it off down to these lows, which is this little orange line right here. So that will be what I'm looking for on gold. But overall, I'm bullish on gold based off of all of the data that we just went over. Everything is bullish, giving us bullish indications that we will continue to go to the upside. And then also one more thing that I didn't mention was, I know I talked about this last week. We broke above this last lower high point on H4. So when I was talking about structure 2 weeks ago, I was talking about how this was like such. This structure got broken. So now we could look for that pullback to continue to go up. So hopefully y'all know to play for that week. I mean for this week, and then y'all can take advantage. Now, like I put inside of my signals chat and put inside the blueprint, I don't know how active I'm gonna be. I plan on at least taking a week off, just to kind of get used to being able to wake up, because right now the baby, she like sleep a lot, but she also wake up like every 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours, to get like her milk, her diaper change, and all of that stuff. So I don't know what my sleep schedule is gonna be like, and if I'm tired, I'm not getting on the charts. And yeah, that means, so if I don't get on charts, that means that I'm not calling the signal, so forth and so on. So I don't know, like I said, how I'm going to respond to the baby and how I'm gonna be feeling. So I just plan on taking a week off, so forth and so on. Now for my one-on-one students, y'all know that y'all call resumes on Monday, because we took the whole last week off last week, right? So anybody got any questions on gold, just drop them in the comment section. Now let's go over NASDAQ 100. So last week we were here. Well, 2 weeks ago we were here, and then I mentioned that if we broke above, we had this little minor structure fib, but I said if we broke above this and retested, that we was coming to this negative 27, which was our overall targets. And then if we broke underneath here, that we would retest and come down to this to this green zone right here. As you can see, we had this break above, retest, and we hit that negative 27 TP target. So that ended up playing out. That was cool. But then overall, even last week, like I was mentioning, all of this been in consolidation. Like, it's not been the cleanest at all. So when it's in consolidation like this, you got to be mindful and you got to be attentive of like where you at inside the market. Like, don't be so caught up in minor structure. Don't just be, like, if you just sitting here trading on like M15, M5 all the time, like, you're gonna get smacked because you don't really know the overall direction of price. So like, that's something that you want to be mindful of, and pay attention to your higher time frames, right? So starting from our higher time frames, we can see that on the weekly time frame we started to get some wick exhaustion, and then we also are at this level of resistance. So the story here is every time that price came to this area, it did what? It dropped, and here we are again at this area, and we kind of rejecting for potentially another drop, which kind of goes hand in hand with what we just talked about with Trump. If Trump invades Iran and they start like a war, whatever the case may be, I would expect this to drop. Now, I'm not saying it's going to drop all the way down here, but I do expect like some sort of a drop. And you can see we've been even pushing up here, but we really haven't really had like a deep pullback. Like, you see how we have these pushes, impulse, we have a correction, and then we have a continuation, then we have a correction, and continuation, so forth and so on. We've been getting this push with no correction. So that's just understanding that concept alone. We can expect some form of a correction on those higher time frames. Now on the daily, this is where things get a little juicy, because you can see that we have divergence. My students, you already know this is ascending channel, right? So we got divergence, ascending channel forming, and then divergence on the RSI. That is indication that the market wants to potentially reverse, but we need to see our confirmations before that we even take that. So just because, and this is how like you don't get like caught up in all of the noise, even though I'm mentioning the Trump stuff just because it just happened over the weekend. It's like, even if I didn't pay attention to the news at all, I still should be able to trade based off of my technicals and what the chart is telling me, not what the news reports. Like, I don't even care. Like, I don't even really watch the news. Like, I don't really like to do that, because like the news, they'll gas stuff up and they'll kind of make it seem worse than what it is, or they'll make it seem better than what it is, so forth and so on. So just because he did that, that doesn't mean this is going to fall to the floor like this. It doesn't mean that. It means that it's a possibility because it's lining up with the technicals, but it doesn't mean that it's guaranteed. So always be mindful of that and still look at the chart for what it is and not what you think is going to happen just based off of human logic or human emotion, so forth and so on, right? So here we need to see a little bit more confirmations to verify that this is about to sell off. But the good thing is that we are at an area where the decision making is pretty much easy, right? Because we're sitting at this level of support. We already hit this negative 27 TP target based off of this fib that we had here, so that's good, right? So that lets us know, okay, cool, we could potentially expect price to reverse from this area. But like I was mentioning, since we do have this divergence here inside of the market, we know that we need to see structure break in some form, right? Like, we need to see some form of structure getting broken and retested to let us know that price wants to go in the opposite direction. So here we have our last higher low point of this price. So this was the uptrend. Price is sitting at this higher low point. In order for us to take sales, in order for us to assume that the market is going to drop, even though I know all of y'all thinking like the market finna drop the hell this week, before we just assume that, we need to see price break beneath this area, retest this area, and then that will be our validity to sell it down to this next level of support here. If we do not get this break and retest of this level of support, I'm sorry, we not selling this off, even though Trump is doing what he's doing. Because honestly, in my opinion, this is just my own perspective, my own take. Trump is like, he like the boy that cried wolf, or like, in a sense, like, he'll say like stuff is happening and then like it really don't be that bad. You know what I'm saying? So like, this can be a pullback or a drop due to the fear that's in the market, but then it bounced back and rebound, just like how it was with what's it called, the tariffs. Like when the tariffs had happened, I believe that was like somewhere in this little area, like price had dropped, but then like once people realized that, like, all right, these tariffs ain't that bad, price rebound and continue to print bullish. So that's something that I think can happen here with this like bombing of Iran, and understanding like, all right, he can do these bombs, and then at the end of the week or next week he say like, all right, Iran is scared of the United States, we got the best military, we don't have nothing to worry about, like, we not going to war. And then literally stocks will pump like and push up. So that's just something that you got to be mindful of. So this is still like a very bullish trend, but like I said, I'm still expecting that type of correction on the higher time frames that we still didn't have. But overall, we still forming bullish market structure, so we got to be attentive of that and still treat it as a bullish structure no matter what's going on. So ultimately, we not taking sales underneath this. I mean, we only taking sales if we get underneath this area here. And I don't know why my trading view is moving real slow, but let me put the the note right here. Sales only if we break. So sales only if we break and retest underneath there, and then overall, for our buy structure, we could look for price to break above these highs here. Really, it's in a consolidation area, so it's really kind of like you need to wait for price to break to continue to go up. And then our next target would be 22,400. I mean 22,200 ish area. But we just need more data right now. So all right, so we need a little bit more data because price is consolidating. So unless we break these lows, then I ain't really messing with NAS. I'm cool on it. So we'll see how this overall plays out. Of course, like if you go down to these smaller time frames, there was a lot of little minor breaks and retests, like minor structure fibs and stuff that y'all could like draw on and that hit take profit, but I'm not really a fan of these consolidations. So I'm gonna just leave this alone. I ain't trading NAS in a couple weeks, so just wait on that to break out. And then for US 30, price is pretty much the same thing. Where we were at last time, where we talked about, literally this played out to the T. Damn, this was spot on. Last week 2 weeks ago we were here. I was saying wait on the pullback and watch price here for these buys. But if we broke beneath these lows, we would sell off. But literally the ghost pattern broke, retested. This ghost pattern played out to the T and smashed for 473 points. So if you followed this ghost pattern 2 weeks ago, you could have easily took these buys and took advantage of that move that we talked about last call. All right, so now based off of where we are at inside of price, let's go to the higher time frames real quick, and then this is gonna be the end of the call. US 30, we have this little area of resistance / support. We broke underneath this level. We're sitting at this area of support right now. So if we break underneath here, then we could expect to, potentially sell down to the next level. But that's on a weekly time frame, so that'll take a little longer. Our last week candle was a bullish candle, still in this little consolidation area. Daily, same concept as NAS. We still in this little box. Let me redraw that. This little box right here. So be mindful of that. But we still sitting at this major level of resistance, and then this major level of support. So we in between those two areas. And then let's take a look at this on H4. Wait, this got divergence as well on the daily. So divergence and divergence there. So another ascending channel pattern. Our breaker structure line though for this is down here. So we still got a ways to go before we verify that that reverse is prominent. H4. Now US 30 looked a little bit better than NAS, because we had this little break, a structure, retest, and then this drop. That looked good. That's a solid little move. So this should go down and hit that negative 27 this week. And then let's see if we got a trend line. I'm trying to rush through these so I don't take the longest, but all right, so we sitting at this trend line here. Like I said, I'm looking for this to continue to hit this negative 27 TP based off of the structure that we in. So we broke structure. We had a low, lower high, lower low. This lower high form potentially forming, so we expect this to potentially make a new overall lower low. So that looks good. And then we could put this trend line here as well. So if we break underneath this black trend line that I just drew and retest also this black little level support retest, then we could sell that off. So it will look like such. And that will be a solid 330 points. So that should be cool. Now let's look on the smaller time frames though. So US 30 wasn't as bad as NASDAQ. It still was flowing and still gave a little bit of a selling opportunity to take advantage of. Now currently in my one-on-one students, this is kind of what y'all assignment is this week. These counter trend lines. So this counter trend line just got broken. Hold on, I put the wrong thing. This counter trend line got broken and retested on the smaller time frames. So price broke, retested, and then opened up with this gap. So like I was talking about on gold, I will look for this to fill this gap. Oops, hit the wrong thing. So I want to see that gap get filled. So let's put that. So looking for that gap to get filled. And then overall, my bias is still bearish on US 30 based off of this little downtrend structure that we in. So basically what I'm looking for is some form of a pullback and then a drop, which will look something like this. Boom. That's beautiful. All right, so I'll be looking for that, but of course, if you're not already in it, then I wouldn't take, entries unless you get like a new structure forming, a break and a retest. So what I mean by that is like if we form some form of a level of support here, then we break underneath the support, retest it, then you can sell that off. But until then, I'm just looking. This is my overall target, but we still gotta calculate where our entry will be, based off of the structure that we in. Hopefully that makes sense to everybody. But all right, so that's the bias for US 30, and then if we break above this area, retest these highs, then we can sell. We can buy that up. So if we break above this little area at 42, 500-ish area. Then we can buy that up. But I'm expecting price to go bearish on US 30. Does anybody have any questions about any of that? Somebody said FSLR. I don't even know what you're talking about. FYI, my NASDAQ chart FXCM wick down quite a bit lower than yours. Let's take a look. Oh shit, yeah, it did. So yeah, your NAS broke the lows. My NAS, that's like y'all probably always wonder like why I have two of each on here is because of stuff like that. I always compare and contrast different brokers just because like sometimes you get shit like that where you get different brokers that happen. Somebody said congratulations, thank you, I appreciate it. I really appreciate that. And then for anybody that's been following, y'all know the last time we was on the call, we was talking about the Pacers. So Pacers in 7, home team about to take this dub. Hopefully they win tonight for the finals, and that would be awesome. Now, it was a few things. What was I gonna mention? I already mentioned that it's gonna be a slowdown in the blueprint and then signals chat just because I want to kind of get accustomed to the baby. And then for everybody else that so for the people that filled out the wait list, right? The people that filled out the wait list for the mentorship. So of course, like I wasn't expecting the baby to come early. Like the baby came early. So the emails that my team sent out was already like kind of like pre-planned in a sense. So like if you got your email from being on the wait list, then I'ma honor it still because like I said, I didn't expect the baby to be here. The baby wasn't supposed to be here until July. Now the mentorship won't start until July itself, just to give myself enough time to get accustomed with the baby, let my girl get off of bed rest and all of that stuff. But for the people that did get on the wait list, make sure that y'all check your emails. Now, with that being said, y'all know, like, I already be real picky about who I accept. But now that I have to take care of my child, I don't really have the means to really deal with just anybody. So be mindful of that. Like, if you know you're not super serious, or you know that you're not like trying to like take your trading to like make this like your career, or like make this, you know, like your full-time income, then don't even waste my time like filling out the submission form, or even like wasting my team time meeting with them, because it's just no point even y'all doing that. Because like I said, I'm real picky, and I'm not even gonna take a lot of people at all, because I don't even have the means to even teach. But like I said, since it was pre-planned and I already sent out those emails, it's like, all right, I'm gonna honor it just because I'm a man of my word, right? So just be mindful of that. If you was on the wait list, you should have got your email, but if not, look out for it this week. Somebody said, congrats on little one, many blessings to you and your family. You said, I'm not sure how late I am. I appreciate that. I really appreciate that. And like I said at the beginning of the call, I appreciate everybody that was on Telegram, Instagram DMs. Like I said, I got hundreds and hundreds of messages. I appreciate everybody for the kind words. This is something completely new. I'm a first time dad, so you know, this is one of those things where I don't even know what to expect, but I'm super excited about it, and I don't know how it's going to affect like my schedule. Like I need to hit up Jess. Matter of fact, I need to call her, because I need to ask her how she dealt with all of that while dealing with a brand new newborn. Cause even like I was telling my girl, I'm like, all right, cause I ain't been sleep. Like chat, I really haven't been sleep. Like yesterday, I didn't go to sleep at all. Like I'm one of those people. Like the baby would sleep for an hour, but I was so paranoid. Like just looking at the baby. Like, I'm like, all right, I can't go to sleep because what if she wake up and I can't hear her or whatever the case may be. So I ain't been asleep, but I did start like a schedule and a routine that I'm gonna follow, like trying to be up during London session to like, cause that's when she up the most. I don't know why she stays up during the night more than she do in the day. Like, she been asleep all day today, but in the nighttime she be up. I don't know why, but maybe that's how she was in the womb. But anyways, I'm trying to come up with a schedule, and I'm gonna just do my best to kind of just make sure that I'm still doing the things that I'm supposed to do. Somebody said, what about vlogs? Honestly, I don't know. I got vlogs that I did before the baby came that's getting edited and stuff right now. But I don't know I don't know how, like, I'm going to film, because literally my time is all baby. And the only reason why I was able to do this call right now is because my sister came. Like, my sister came from out of town, and my girlfriend mom is here. So, like, they can go and, like, take care of the baby while she's sleeping, make sure she don't wake up. But that's the only reason. Otherwise, it's like, all right, when I was in the hospital, literally, chat, I didn't change so many diapers. I'm a pro now. Like, I was low key even scared to hold the baby. And now it's like, shit, I can hold the baby. I'll be holding the baby like you know how on Lion King they hold the baby up like this. Like, that's how I am with the baby now. But I was scared to hold the baby, so forth and so on. So I don't know about vlogs, but I'll try my best. Maybe I'll just do, you know what? Maybe I'll go back to the build accounts. You know, like the vlogs from strictly the office and not me being outside, because I don't even plan on going outside. Like, I don't even know. I wouldn't even feel comfortable leaving the baby here by herself with her mom, just because her mom on bed rest. So yeah, I don't know. We'll figure it out though. I don't know if we're gonna have the call next week, but I just wanted to do this call today just to give y'all some insight on what to expect this week. So we went over gold, went over US 30, so forth and so on. But y'all know, like I said in my Telegram chat, y'all my tribe, so I'ma still show up, even though like I got stuff going on. I still want to make sure that everybody here can reach that level of success that they want to, right? So me just showing up for y'all just do y'all part. Y'all know, like, y'all got a hella videos to study. Go back and watch this video. Go back and watch all of the other live streams. We talk about a lot of gems, so forth and so on, that you could literally be successful from. So just, you know, like I said, just make sure that you actually doing your part, because I could teach y'all how to fish and y'all can fish for yourself. But if y'all just rely on me to do the fishing for y'all, then it's like times like this where I'm not that readily available, then it's like, then what you gonna do? So always just be mindful of that. Somebody said, Treese, I think it's Treese, if accepted for the waitlist, do you work with beginner traders? I typically don't work with beginner traders. I advise them to go through like the blueprint first before they come to me. But I have worked with beginners in the past, like my class from it's June now, back in like December or like back in like November-ish, I had a beginner and he did really well. So it just depends on the person, but it's just one of those things where I gotta make the decision. Any other questions before I let y'all go? And let me check my Zoom chat. You said a night nurse, Deanna. Yeah, I probably do need one of those. But you know, I'm one of those people where like I don't want just anybody around my baby. So maybe I could like hire my little sister to be a night nurse or something, because I just can't have anybody around my baby. I'm just real picky like that. But all right, chat. No questions. So like I said, this is what I'm looking for, but y'all just be on the lookout. And like I mentioned in my Telegram chat, I'ma still be dropping some value for y'all, but it'll be in different types of forms, which is like little voice messages, you know, little screenshots here and there, just to still like be in the mix with y'all, but also I just won't be present as much for the first couple weeks, just so like I can, learn the baby schedule and spend time with my newborn, so forth and so on. Spend time with my girlfriend. I'm taking care of my girlfriend and taking care of the newborn. So y'all just bear with me, but of course I'm never gonna forget about y'all, because y'all my tribe, and I love y'all, and I want everybody on these calls to be successful. So with that being said, I will see you all again. Honestly, I don't know the next time I'll see y'all again, but I will put it inside my Telegram chat whenever I do have the call. And then for my Blueprint members, everything will be inside of y'all school community. So anything, any live trading, any updates about that will be inside of this community. And then my one-on-one personal students, y'all know that y'all resume y'all call on Monday this week. So that being said, I'll see you all again. In the meantime, y'all take care. Have a great rest of y'all week. And then, like I said, this is a great week for trading. Volatility is definitely going to be there to take advantage of it. And let's get this money.